This episode brought to you by LAN parties, because nothing says friendship like fighting for bandwidth.
This is Hot Drop, where we bring you premier PUBG analysis and scalding hot drops. I'm Dano.
And I'm Cody.
And let's get into it.
Whew! That felt good. This feels good. Today is a good day, everybody. We have been streaming now since 3:15. It is now 7:52 p.m. on March 15th, the year of our some people's Lord 2018. It's a good day. We've got a good podcast. We are revved up. How is everyone?
So revved.
Dan, what are we talking about today?
So let's see. We got a lot. We've got some Xbox news. We've got the roadmap, which came out pretty much right after we released the last episode. I think it was the next day. So we want to talk about the Xbox roadmap.
We got that Xbox roadmap the very next day after we got the PC roadmap. So.
Yes, exactly. So we want to cover the Xbox roadmap, which we did not talk about last episode, which includes all of their plans for the spring releases that are coming out soon. The Xbox roadmap is just specifically spring. I wanted to point that out. The PC roadmap that we talked about before was the entire year of 2018. So we'll talk about that. We also had a hot fix that came out on the Xbox, which had a bunch of different patch notes and bug fixes, as well as PC update number 7. And yeah, just kind of the state of PUBG as of the last week or so. So Cody, do you want to take it away with the roadmap talk?
Yeah, first of all, performance optimization across the board. They keep talking about that for both PC and Xbox. They want to get it essentially par with each other, but better than each are at the moment. So I think they're setting a bar and they're working their way toward it, even though each game is on a different rung of the ladder right now. The last big Xbox update kind of brought it to a lot closer to the PC version, but we're just not where we need to be just yet. They wanted to improve the inventory UX. We keep talking about this. The inventory management is really rough, and people don't know how to use it effectively, and it's just not very.
It's just not usable with a controller.
Yeah,
it seems
slow.
Weird. It's time consuming. It's difficult to understand how to use it. It's not just the UI. They want to increase the user experience of it. Particularly, they note in high-risk, high-reward situations where inventory management is a high-pressure thing where you want to get in and get out quickly. They're working towards the goal of just making it more intuitive and more responsive. And I think that's the key here, is just intuitive and responsive. Like, they nailed it with that statement, because right now it isn't, and it needs to be.
And with that, they keep talking about they want to improve the controller, and we keep talking about how it's got to be difficult for everybody who's playing on Xbox to adjust to different controller configurations week in, week out. They want to get to a point where they just have, these are our configurations. You can change them how you wish between these few settings, just like they do in any game, default, expert, classic, whatever you wanted to call it. They got to stop changing it every week, and they've identified that. Right. They also wanted to improve matchmaking for duos and squads. I don't know what that issue is. Do you know what that issue is about how it's matchmaking?
Yeah, I don't really think it's an issue. It's more that they want to improve the experience. So what I'm thinking is, it's likely that there's a behind-the-scenes ranking happening with matchmaking. So it tries to put you with other teams of the same skill level. Mm-hmm. And it's probably not doing that right now, or it's not doing that to the level they want it to, just to make sure your matches are as even as possible. I think that overall, I think we could probably talk about this a little bit. Your rank isn't nearly as important in this game as it is in a game, and again, I keep saying it week in and week out, Counter-Strike. A game like Counter-Strike, where your skills are much more showcased and you're in a much more confined map where the variables are reduced. I think that in PUBG, because you can sneak up on anyone at any time or be around a corner or camping and, take people by surprise or be hiding in a bush, skill obviously has a huge place in this game, but it's not as big of an issue to go against someone who's a much higher skill than you. I think the playing ground of this game is a lot more level.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Lemon John wants to know whether or not that's why we couldn't get into the same server as you last night when we were trying to get that clip.
Yeah, that could definitely be, because I would be probably going in with a high rank, because I usually get a lot of kills per game. Humble brag right there. So maybe my matchmaking rank is higher than your guys is as a group. And so because I was going in as a solo versus squads, and you guys were trying to go in as a full squad because we wanted to get some cool action shots. We weren't teaming. We weren't doing anything against the rules. We were just trying to get some action shots and then get out of the game for that cool new intro video you guys just saw. And we couldn't, like, even though we timed it the exact same time, we were going in at the same region, both in NA. It just wouldn't put us into the same server, and that's probably why, because the ranking is just different. Our rankings are probably too far apart to match us together. But again, They could also be a ping-based thing, because we do have someone, Lemon John, who's over in California. There's a possibility that that had something to do with it too. The average ping of you guys was probably less than mine. It would probably put me in a east server, and maybe you guys in a central server, to combine the two, to kind of find the halfway point for you guys. But yeah, it could also be the rank. So
yeah, that makes sense. Moving on, we had in this, they say they want to add player reporting on console for unsportsmanlike behaviors and such, which Crate Monkey 21 in the Discord also brought up just recently today, actually, not maybe like an hour ago, that there isn't a way at all to report people for hacking, cheating, modding, whatever.
There needs to be. There absolutely needs to be a way to report people.
You know, it's weird that because consoles are much more difficult to cheat or mod or anything like that, that maybe it's because we have such a high volume of people playing at this point that people are finding ways to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Getting into a system and figuring out a way to mod or hack or do whatever.
Yeah, definitely possible. As the game progresses, I mean, so will cheat manufacturers and people who are willing to cheat. Yeah.
Cool.
So I think that reporting is key to this game being clean overall, and over time, I think it's going to get better as the anti-cheat gets better and better. Like, we just saw that there was a really good, well, what Bluehole claimed was a really good update that was really effective at anti-cheat. However, they had to roll it back because it was causing a lot of people to not even be able to access the game. So they're focusing a lot of the efforts on anti-cheat, and being able to report them on the Xbox is key to that as well, because there's a huge player base on the Xbox, even potentially bigger than the PC will be, I think, in a short amount of time. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I'm going to say that Xbox will probably be bigger over time within the next 6 months or so.
Yeah, and I think out of all the hours we played today, when we run into hackers twice,
mm-hmm.
a couple of weeks ago, that was every other game.
Yeah, we just had a horrible, blatant hacker. I think it could have been a bug, but we're gonna have to review that thing that Rosie clipped. Basically, three of us were in a match, and we were in Pachinki and just running around looting. I had an excellent loadout. All of us had really good loadouts. And then I was killed by a punch from an invisible person. I don't know. You might have been working on the intro video at that point, but it just happened. Yeah, it was just an invisible person killed us with punch. I know that this was not an exploit, but a bug that used to happen way back in early access, where people would be left behind on Spawn Island, but you would see all of the people in the game standing around AFK next to you. And those people were just sort of like avatars for the actual people in the match. So you would just go around and be able to punch all the people to death, and they would die in the actual game. But you would be sitting on Spawn Island, just completely safe from everyone. So it might be something like that happening again, or it could be an exploit related to that. I'm not really sure, but that's the first time I've ever been killed by someone who was invisible and via punch. That's a new thing for me.
Wow.
Anyway, kind of went off topic there, but
let's move on to bullet penetration on vehicles. How about that?
Yeah, sure. I think this is really needed. What do you think? Because, I mean, it's so hard to kill people in cars.
Absolutely, it's difficult. I think the easiest one to kill somebody in is an uncovered UAZ in any of the maps. Well, buggy. But an uncovered UAZ is probably your best bet to actually get somebody in a real vehicle. Good luck getting anybody in a van or a covered UAZ. Maybe the driver, but that's just a lucky shot at that point. So being able to change that so bullet penetration works really well in vehicles makes this game a lot more balanced. It makes this game a lot more difficult to play and reduces the ability for what used to be the Xbox meta of getting in cars all the time, or even the PC, everyone just hopping in vehicles to get to their next destination. I found that we have been jumping in and avoiding driving cars past people a lot more often than we had in the past, because bullet penetration coming through is a real concern at this point.
Yeah. And it's going to be a bigger concern going forward once they implement this. And I'm excited for it because it kind of, again, puts it at a level playing field. It's hard to shoot people out of cars. It should be hard. But I think a little bit of bullet penetration should be in place so that it, again, evens the playing field out. If you get shot, if you're sitting in a car and you get shot through the door, driver's side door, you should take damage. It should be reduced damage, but cars aren't bulletproof. So until they add tanks in this game that are completely protecting you against rifle fire, I think there should definitely be some kind of bullet penetration.
Yeah. And I've noticed the bullet penetration got better with this last update. They wanted us to give feedback because they pushed it to live servers. I think it's better. You can see destructibles essentially through door frames, and the doors react differently and the fences react differently and things like that, minus the weird caution gate that we blew up with today. The bullet penetration and all that has been a lot better and more useful in terms of a firefight, to see where you're aiming and how well you're doing and things like that. So there are a lot of benefits to it.
So my counterpoint is that I honestly totally forgot that they added it. Like, I haven't even noticed bullet penetration really at all today playing. But that, again, I've been thinking all along that it hasn't been there. So maybe that's why I've been not really realizing that, yeah, you can actually shoot through car doors and stuff.
Let me counterpoint your counterpoint.
Yeah, counter to my counter. Let's go.
A lot of times you would make a comment about that should have gone through that, or this shouldn't be this bad, and you don't do that now. You don't say like, oh, that should have gone through there. Oh, destructibles. Oh, bullet penetration. And you haven't done that in the last 3 days.
Okay. I'll take that. I have to double check their patch notes and see what they added penetration on, because I thought it was just vehicles. But again, I'm not totally sure. So we're going to have to go back and check that out. But yeah, maybe I'm just also really used to the game and knowing that, like, you can't shoot through paper thin materials when you should be able to.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, so this is one of those things that they're adding to Xbox to promote a greater sense of realism. Specifically, they say they're applying bullet penetration to vehicles for Xbox, but I hope that means they're going to bring it to all materials.
That's got to be the next step, logically.
That's the next step, logical, yeah, for sure.
They also wanted to add highlights, just like they have on PC, and achievements, which I totally appreciate, because now we're getting these achievements and you go, oh, that's cool. What's that one? Oh, that's cool. What's that one?
Yep.
And they're simple, but they're going to add more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you almost got the 100 kill achievement within 4 hours of playing, so you've definitely had to have hit it by now, right?
Yeah. That was so the achievement patch sort of went live, and I hadn't played for a while, so I popped in. It was my first time. There's one achievement that says, get 100 kills, and I think it was a couple hours, and I was at 72. And I looked at it, I was like, there's no way. Like, it has to be counting wrong, because that doesn't seem right at all.
It's insane.
But I love tracking that kind of stuff, and it gives you something to work towards. And, shy of doing what we always do, which is giving challenges to ourselves, now we actually have some built-in things in the game to work towards. Like, get, 50 crossbow kills or something like that? 20 crossbow kills?
Yeah.
That's going to be hard to do. So I'm looking forward to using the crossbow to try to get those achievements in the bag. But it's just cool. I like achievements in games. It's just fun. It's like a fun side quest to do. So they're adding those to Xbox as well. After that, we've got improvements to audio, sound quality, and directional audio. This is going to be a quick gripe for me. It is so hard for me to determine if a shot is directly in front of me or directly behind me. And I say this almost every time. It just depends on when the shot happens and what direction you're looking. But all the time, I'll be in, just in a vehicle or just standing in an open field, and someone will shoot at us, and I'll say, oh, shot behind us. And everyone else said, actually, no, it's like the other way. Because for some reason, the shot was lined up absolutely perfectly with, in front of me, but it was me thinking it was behind me.
Yep.
It's so hard to distinguish. And I don't know if this is my headset. I don't know if it's my sound settings or something I can adjust, but I have the hardest time telling. If it's so perfectly aligned, you just can't tell. If it's slightly off center, I can tell if it's left or right. But not when it's dead nuts center on the front or back. It's so hard to tell which one of those two it is.
In the new PC update, I mean, they added the most noticeable thing is the plane path. Like it's got the Doppler effect going on now, where you know where it's coming from, and how it sounds above you is different than what it sounds like far away. Not just a quiet and loud version of the same thing, which is what it was before.
I want to, once we talk about the PC patch notes, that's something I noticed immediately was they changed the sound of the care package plane. That's what you just were referring to there. It sounds like an actual propeller now instead of a buzzing sound.
Yep. They're also going to add a test server client, which will be a separate download, which will be awesome for when they push out things and they want to test them out, and instead of breaking the game like they did on this last one, which is probably the point of the hot fix. They don't want to push something to live and break it when there are so many people playing the game. And Miramar comes early spring, which should be great for everyone. Except I'm pretty sure that they said Miramar's coming early spring, and then a bunch of people got Miramar.
People on Xbox got it?
I don't know if that's true or not, but
no, I haven't seen that. Unless they somehow got a build ahead of time or something. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But quickly back to the test server, I think it's even more important on Xbox because there's that extra delay, that Microsoft delay of, checking for QA one more time before they allow it to be pushed to the Xbox.
Right.
So if they push something to the test server, they can argue to Microsoft and say, we don't really need an extra layer of QA because this is just our test server, so we don't really care. So maybe it might mean that you're able to play the patch a little bit quicker, and then it might be, you might find some problems with it on the test server, but that's what it's there for, is to find those issues before they push it to live. So it'll just get you, into the game, checking out those new features ahead of time, and then hopefully, if all goes well, they'll just push that to live immediately. So it's like hopefully a shortcut to getting those new features in your hands right away.
All right, so why don't you talk about the hot fix that had happened real quick? That's just sort of a quick update.
Yeah, sure. So there was a hot fix for specifically the Xbox, and this came out on Monday, which would have been March 12th. And they released this hot fix and said, please restart your Xbox to get the update. Apologies for the inconvenience. There were some bug fixes, and there was just one known issue, again, the same known issue that we've seen since the last update on Xbox, which was pressing the B button while in settings will cause the player to exit the plane. So I'm sure a lot of you have been jumping from the plane unintentionally, and this is that known issue that they have. But this hotfix consisted of just about 5 bugs. The player revival would continue despite interruption. And I think that Downward Spiral actually in chat was talking about this one day where they said an enemy went to revive their buddy, and the enemy stopped reviving and went away, like ran away. The guy on the ground that was already downed suddenly just got up.
What?
So there was some kind of bug where you would start reviving and then you would just stop, and then suddenly it would just continue reviving you.
Weird.
So that is a horrible bug to go against. Great if you're the guy being revived, but horrible for everyone else. So that one is gone. They also fixed repeating sounds from footsteps or when reloading the Kar98 revolver or shotgun. They fixed an issue where B and Y buttons remain active in gameplay while in the map view. I'm not certain what that means because it sounds like that one is very similar to the known issue, which is pressing B while in the settings will cause the player to exit the plane. Maybe that was also happening while in the map. Fix an issue where the parachute cable would not disappear following a landing in water. And also fix an issue where the player could not cut the parachute cable when becoming stuck during landing, which is one of the most infuriating things about this game, is getting stuck in your parachute. So that's helping. Downward Spiral in chat says he went to be revived and his friend stopped, but yes, same thing. He stopped, and then all of a sudden Downward Spiral was able to get up and made it pretty far in the game because of that. So that's a bug that actually helped out. Every once in a while you get it on your side, which is great. But if it's your enemy, that would totally suck. To see suddenly your enemy just pop up from a down state.
I would like to point out that some people in chat are referring to him as a hacker or his partner as a necromancer. And I'm inclined to agree.
Magic has been added to this game, confirmed.
So that should be about it for that hot fix. Why don't we move on to PC update number 7?
Let's do it.
All right, there is a ton in here, and I think personally it has made the game a lot better. It is smoother. It is less buggy in general. I'm getting higher frames per second. It's pretty nice overall.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this update. I was
Yeah,
just
me
saying
too.
today it's like the best it's ever felt. And
Yeah,
I've said
it
that
just
about other
feels
patches too.
yeah, no, it just feels really smooth. And before, like we wouldn't get a lot or it'd make it worse and things like that. And I think that we've gotten to a point now where I'm very happy with this update, and I hope that every update just feels this good. It's not a ton of new stuff, but it's enough for you to notice a few things and feel good about what you're playing and that you're investing your time into it.
Hmm. Yep.
First, bringing in client optimization. We have improved real-time response by reducing input lag. I feel like the lag was pretty minimal for the most part. I think our first games in today were pretty choppy. But after that, everything kind of slowed back down and we were good.
Yeah. Servers feel better for sure.
Yeah, yeah. They mitigated the frame drop issue caused by map loading processes. Sure, I agree with that. Feels like
Yeah.
they did that.
Whatever you can do to squeeze out more frames per second. I like how they tell you this kind of stuff. It's stuff that the average person wouldn't really care about or might not even understand. But it's obviously stuff that we're seeing the real time effects of. We're going
Yep.
into matches and we're noticing it smoother. We're noticing that, just everything is just running so much better and so much cleaner from the start. Like I haven't really noticed items not really spawning in.
No, not really.
Just seems to be
Even with
really
the
good.
hot drops, it doesn't seem like it's that much of an issue.
Hmm.
Um, they released the burden on the GPU by optimizing buildings in Erangel, but I actually haven't noticed buildings in Erangel changing, but I did notice the holes in the floor in the Miramar buildings.
Yeah, that's the one thing they added. I think it's in this patch, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
they added, Underworld. We'll get to this. Made holes in the ceiling and floor of some high buildings, so that it is easier to move between different levels to improve gameplay experience on Miramar.
Essentially, I think that was because people couldn't find the stairwells in a lot of the buildings.
Hmm.
There are a lot of
It's so
different
hard.
like alcoves and things inside of Miramar's high rises. And so I used them a couple of times over the last couple of days just to drop down the floor and get out easier.
Yeah, yeah. Miramar, I'm still having trouble navigating those buildings. The stairways are just not in obvious places, and I think that's probably the main thing that I'm having trouble with. Is like you run into a building and the stairway is not immediately obvious to you if someone is needing your assistance upstairs, for example. They say,
Mhm.
"Oh, go upstairs and to the right," and then you're like, "Crap, I don't know where the stairs are."
Better yet, they need your help one building over downstairs.
Yeah,
And you're on the third floor of a high rise and you can't find it. So you automatically go, the quickest way to get to them is to take a little bit of damage and jump out a window.
hmm,
And then you arrive at a firefight damaged already
yep,
because you had to get there fast.
exactly. And it'll come with time. It's just us kind of being unfamiliar with the map, and we'll get it. But right now, it would be nice if the buildings just were a more logical layout as far as for new players, especially.
Hmm.
But I don't know. That's a very small thing to nitpick about. It's not that big of a deal.
Right.
Where were we? So back to optimize vehicle physics when driving under a certain speed.
I feel like we
And
need them better for when you're driving over a certain
yeah,
speed. Like I don't care about going 5 miles an hour. I never have a glitch when I'm going 5 miles an hour. It's when
right.
I'm going full bore and turboing that I flip when I hit a blade of grass.
Yeah,
That's my problem.
exactly. They need to smooth out certain areas of the map, especially on Erangel, where it's almost like it's a bump, but it's a 45-degree angle bump. And it's just like a little bit of a smidgen above your bumper, and you just slam into it, and it looks like you hit nothing.
Yep.
It's so frustrating. So,
Server optimization kind of brought in optimized server network performance and vehicle physics when driving under a certain speed. Cool. Let's move on.
yep, we talked
Lobby.
that to death.
They added the PUBG friends list. My opinion is it's made it a little more difficult to figure out who's there. I'd like to be able to just click the plus button, find everybody who's online, but now it says they're either Steam friends. There's a Steam symbol offline in team, and the UI doesn't work all that great. So like, I could take that away and not feel like that was a great addition to our our update here.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
Um,
completely separate from Steam, and
yeah,
I don't really get the point of it. I think that one thing it could make it really easy to find players that you just played with. There is that recent tab, which I like. So say if you're a solo player and you pop into a match with someone and it's a duo and you do really well and you want to add them on Steam, this might make it easier to do that. But for us, where we know all of our Steam accounts, we've been playing together for a really long time, we only play together, I don't really think it adds anything for us. And
Yeah,
it kind of
that's
almost
true.
makes it easier, or it makes
I,
it harder to navigate the menus
I
on
wonder
first sight.
if there are a lot of people who use the in-game chat as opposed to a Discord with somebody else if you're playing on PC. Because I would feel, and I don't have anything to back this up with, a ton of people just use Discords because the chat is better.
Yeah.
And so being able to meet somebody in game is a lot harder than it ever was before, because you'll jump into a game and those people aren't even using the in-game chat when they jump in randomly to find a team.
Hmm.
And so it's making it, I just think it was a little bit of a pointless effort on their part to add something new to the game that didn't need to be there.
Yeah, I don't really think it needs to be there. Yeah, I mean, my use case that I just said right then is the only thing I could think of right now that is a benefit. They could have probably spent their efforts elsewhere, but again, I don't really know what they were trying to solve here because it's separate from Steam. Maybe it's just trying to encourage people to use voice chat because you can now use voice chat in your menu and you can plan out your games a little bit better. Maybe this is also something for Xbox that they will port to Xbox, where it matters a little bit more there because there is no Discord on Xbox
Yeah.
right now.
Lemon
But
John makes a great point, is that it could be good for cross-platform eventually.
ooh, yes, good point.
If this is a move toward that, then this would be good for that. So
Excellent point.
hashtag Lemon John makes a great point.
Yes, perfect. They added an emote
Oh.
system. I don't know if there's anything else to say about the chat, but
Nope.
let's jump into emotes. So they added the emote system, and you access this by holding down the tilde button on your keyboard, which is that little squiggly line next to the number 1. And you get a little wheel. And I think this is probably the UI that they're going to add to Xbox for looting and other things. I think this is a
That's how
very
they should it. That's
Yep.
how they should do it.
I think this is a very preliminary look at like their UI changes that they're going to make for the Xbox specifically. So you get that wheel. You get, I think it's 12 emotes, everything from taunting to
Blowing kisses
yeah.
and
or
I
just
liked
telling
it. I
people
thought
to
it was
go or
fun.
nodding. And yeah,
I liked it. I thought it was fun.
yep.
I
I think
don't
it's
see
a
how
cool
it's
addition.
overly useful for the way that we play, but we used it for the video. So
Yeah, it's just a little fun thing, and it's not over the top. They did it really well. It fits all of the actions fit into the world of PUBG. I think we were talking about this on stream a little bit earlier, and saying how like Fortnite has like those dance moves and stuff, which fits that theme of that game. And I'm glad that they didn't do that with PUBG. And so far, I'm not seeing any other weirdness with it. I don't see any kind of exploits. For example, there was one. This is a long time ago. We were playing H1Z1, and there was an emote that was something like laughing, or it was a lean or something, and it actually made your camera clip through a wall when the character like leaned left and
Weird.
right. So you could use that as an exploit to peek through walls. I haven't seen anything like this yet, but it's definitely a possibility. And so they have to make sure that there's no camera movement when your character makes the emote. So, but yeah, I mean, so far so good, and I think they're just a fun addition to the game.
Yep.
One thing I'm gonna say real quick though is we won a game the other night, and you were like, "Why can't I do an emote after I win?" Like, as I want to taunt the
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, they should add that. They should let
not
you do
even,
emotes.
it doesn't even have to be a taunt, but they like the second you get that dinner, that screen comes up and you can't even do an emote. Like, why would I want to do an emote mid game when that could kill me?
Exactly.
Like, I
Right.
only want an emote when I have won the game and I can do a little jig and call
Yes.
it a day. I don't want to shoot somebody when there's 57 people left and then dance around like an idiot and get
Yeah.
shot in the
Your job's not done yet.
face. That's like was it Deshaun Jackson that caught that touchdown and then tossed the ball before he crossed the end zone?
Yep.
Yeah,
Like flicked it out behind him.
Yep, flipped it up behind it. I don't want a Deshaun Jackson it.
Or the other guy who took off his helmet like as he got into the end zone, like before the ball crossed the
Yeah.
plane or something like that. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. The
Rough
game's not
stuff,
over.
man.
I want to emote at the end when it's all over and I can chill out
Rough
and
stuff.
have fun.
They also added a main menu voice chat. Cool.
Yep.
If you're using a Discord, it's irrelevant.
Exactly.
Um,
And then they fixed the blue blood effect being more visible than the red blood effect when player gets shot. So I don't know if you were there for this, Cody. I think you were. We were
I
talking
was
about
there.
this.
Yep.
We were saying how this is a regional setting, and I don't know what region, but it's sort of like in Germany where certain characters in games are robots instead of actual people. It's kind of like a censorship thing, I think. This one is that they changed the color of the blood from red to blue. And previously, I saw some YouTube videos of this. The blue blood was a very bright color, and it would just pop out against the backdrop, especially on Erangel. So if you're fighting in sort of like the shade of trees, if you got a hit on someone, you would see this pop of blue. It's almost like almost a white, like a teal color. And it was very easy to tell if you got a hit with the blue blood active versus the red blood. So I think they toned that down a little bit, and they made it so that the blue blood doesn't pop quite so much, and that it's a little more even playing field with the colors. Lemon John in chat says the launch option is dash Korea region or something like that. So he thinks it's the Korean version of this game. Yeah, just a regional thing. I think what was the other thing? Like, in Counter-Strike, yeah, there's I think it's the German version of Counter-Strike. If you shoot an enemy and you kill them, instead of falling over and being dead, they just get on their hands and knees and like put their hands behind their head, like they surrender. So it's like a censorship thing, yeah. But
they've also added material for crops, rubber, cloth, paper, and cactus. So essentially, when you're shooting and attacking with melee weapons, the proper response will happen based on that material. They wrote that weird. They added material crops, and then they wrote, when shooting or attacking with a melee weapon, the right effect for each material will be displayed. Essentially, like, if you're shooting corn, it's going to look like you're shooting corn. If you shoot wood, it looks like you're shooting wood. That's essentially what they mean by that. So it looks more realistic instead of everything just being destroyed and falling over to pieces.
Seems good.
Yep. Just makes it more realistic. They also changed the scope view to be a little bit more realistic. There's sort of like a distortion around the edges, which I think is actually pretty cool. Some people have had issues. I think it was Downward Spiral had issues with the flare kind of showing up.
The lens flare, yeah.
But it's not bad on the PC version, I don't think. It's just a tiny, tiny bit here and there. I actually really liked the changes. The 2x scope looks awesome now.
Oh, it's so much better.
The reticles on the 4x are pretty clean, and I like it a lot. Overall, I'd say it's really good.
Yeah, that 2x change is massive. It's massive. It's like they just completely widened the field of view inside the scope. Before, it was almost like looking through a toilet paper tube, but now you can actually see, like, within the entire ring of the scope, you see that entire view. So it's really nice. And they just added that little ring around it, like you said, that little sort of like a distortion. It just makes it look cool.
It's just like what you would see when you're looking through magnifying glasses. Around the edges, it gets a tiny bit stretched out.
Yep.
They've added a parallax effect when moving weapons fast. I've no idea what parallax means, Dan.
I've not noticed that, but I know from my iPhone that parallax is what happens if you look at your phone and you tilt it and you move it around. Your icons kind of move with you. That's parallax. I don't know how that relates to this bullet point, which is when moving weapons fast. Maybe it's sort of like, the weapon sort of stays in place. Shift. And like your head sort of moves around it kind of thing, but I just haven't noticed that effect at all.
Cool. And they added color or vignetting, chromatic aberration, and distortion effect on the edges of scopes, which is what we talked about. So I guess the vignetting, I haven't actually noticed that much, but I think the color difference caused by light refraction is the chromatic aberration.
Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure. Like, combined, all of these things make for a more realistic scope image, I think. But I don't really know what they are.
The distortion effect on the edge of the scopes, I guess, was the right wording for it. That's what they put down. So
yeah, I don't really know what that means specifically, but yeah.
They redesigned some vehicle icons to work better with 4K resolution, and they replaced the red cross icon with a red tire icon for a broken tire.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Is that I
didn't notice
the red cross icon?
So they used to put an X down when your right-left tire was out, and now they're making it a tire icon.
Yep, I remember that now. That's in the UI at the bottom left of the vehicle readout. Yep.
Yeah. For sound, they added hit sound effects for crops, rubber, cloth, paper, and cacti material, which, cool.
Yep.
Long, 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 long list of bug fixes if you want to start tapping into those, man.
Yeah, let's we might not have to hit all of these.
Just pick out some good ones.
Yeah, a couple good ones. Issue where a player could die instantly when vaulting and climbing. I think that's a very good bug fix. They also changed the location of items that would spawn in places that players could not reach. That's a pretty great one. I always would have that problem where I would see something on top of a box, but I couldn't reach it, and especially like at the ruins of Erangel. There's that church there, and then those ruins. There's a couple boxes that it's really difficult to jump up on, especially before we had vaulting. It was almost impossible to get those things. So they adjusted the items, the location of items, just a little bit. Let's see. They fixed an issue of overlapping footstep sounds. I think that's a pretty big one, just for when you're approaching a building and there's someone in the house. Maybe there's some overlapping distortion effect with the sound. Footsteps is a very tricky thing. It's something that you want to have very accurate sound depictions of because they tell you where your enemies are. That's your second line of defense after seeing them is hearing them. So any change to footstep sounds, I am 100% on board with because it's pretty difficult to hear footstep sounds in this game right now.
Yeah, for sure.
But the one thing that they did change, which it might be in this list, I'm not really sure, is the ambient sounds in the game have completely gone away. It's almost like when you're standing in the match, there's no wind noise anymore, and it's like you're alone in the world. So for that reason, it makes it a little bit easier to hear those footsteps. It's pretty wild. Like I noticed that right away when I was in the match. It was just silent. And you didn't notice how much ambient noise there was already in the game. Like stepping outside or inside, that ambient noise would change just slightly. But now that's gone. Or when you're by the beach, there would be waves or like
Waves,
like
and those
ocean
aren't there now.
blowing sounds. Yeah.
Unless you go into the water, then all of a sudden you're interacting with it and it shows back up, and you go,
Yeah.
well, that's weird.
Yeah. I like how quiet it is now. It's nice. Definitely makes it more peaceful and easier to pick up enemies.
Peaceful
movements.
when you're just murdering noobs.
Exactly. Pointing the nubs.
All right. Well, that's all the relevant bug fixes, I would say. I think moving on, we have a really cool little tidbit, I guess, is there is a new undocumented weapon for custom games, and that, my friends, is the flare gun. I think that could be a really cool addition if this is a reality. Being able to do a ton of things with it, distract. It calls down crate planes. So being able to call it down whether or not to set up an ambush or get it yourself or load up your squad or whatever, you could camp that out just by launching a flare gun and just kind of waiting. And I think that'd be a really cool addition. Hopefully they'd be able to push that to the live servers at some point, but it's not confirmed yet.
Yeah, and this is the stuff we were talking about last week where they might not add it to the game, the main game, but it's still a super cool thing to have in custom games, and it belongs there for sure. At least it belongs there. It'd be so fun to like grab a flare gun, shoot it up in the air, call an airdrop in, know that you're going to get it if no one else is there, but also know that you're basically calling a fight to yourself. Like that is the coolest thing. And then you can camp the people that do that, or then you can camp the campers. Like there's just so many options you can do with that. You can fake people with it, so you can pop it off and then run away and then hide and wait for other people to come in. It's just a really cool game mechanic, which 100% fits in custom games. If it's super rare, like maybe like one or two of them exist in a match, maybe I could see it working out pretty well in a regular game mode too. But I don't know. It could also be something they add to that small map to make it even more frantic.
Oh yeah, that would be
4x4 map that we're gonna get pretty soon.
Can't wait.
That would be sick. It's already so intense, and then seeing all these airdrops coming in all around you, like that would be a really sweet game mode.
I bet the average time for those games will be like 15 to 17 minutes for a full longest game you could get.
Yeah, and I'm scared too because I'm probably gonna want to play that game mode more than this. Because it's just like it gets you that adrenaline fix. It gets your PUBG fix faster, and then you just want it faster and faster and faster. So more action and more excitement in a smaller area. But yeah, so they didn't document this. They just put it in the game, posted it up. People found it. They talked about it on Reddit and other places. And they keep doing this every once in a while. They'll just stick something into the patch notes that we don't expect or that they don't mention at all, and then we just find it after the fact. So this is the kind of stuff
Right.
that we're looking for. Then again, I keep asking you guys, if you find anything that we didn't talk about or anything that wasn't documented in the patch notes, we would love to hear it and talk about that kind of stuff, because we miss things too, for sure, and we
Yeah.
want to know about it.
You know, we try to go through all the feedback, but sometimes we miss some stuff, and other times we don't have enough information to back it up. So the more information you can give us, the better.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So these were really good patches. Patches on Xbox and PC, and I'm going to speak for you too. And I think we talked about this. Like, it definitely rejuvenated us a little bit and got us more excited about this game.
Absolutely.
We've been playing it all day long. I mean, we're going to play it for another 3 or 4 hours after
Yep.
this. Yeah, it's just they finally are communicating more, and that's the key. People will start to lose hope a little bit and start losing interest when we don't see those bug fixes, and we also don't know what's coming or when to expect changes. So we've got our roadmap. We know every 2 months they're going to do a big feature release, and then we also know that the first one of those releases is due this month. So we're going to get another big release soon. And on Xbox too, we know that they're going to be continuously updating that, and we know the roadmap for the rest of the spring. And that's bringing people back, and it's getting people excited about the game again. It's really great to see. I feel like spirits are up now. I feel like for a while they were kind of down. I know people are in chat are probably going to say, like, we have been playing this game and we love it, and like, so do we. I mean, we've been playing it all along throughout this, but we've always wanted a little bit more. And I think you've said that too. You just want more.
And we're starting to get it.
And we're
And
starting
I'm
to
really
get it.
excited, and we're pretty encouraged, and we're encouraged about how many of you hang out with us in the chat and how many of you online download our episodes every week. You guys have been huge for us keeping this going. We're topping out at almost 300 downloads on the first day every time we release an episode. So that's really, really
Super cool.
exciting for us. And we have a steady number of downloads every single day throughout the week. So thank you to everybody who downloads our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher. This is just really exciting, and we're really happy that you guys are hanging out with us and doing this with us week in and week out. We know you're all busy, and we're busy, and we're trying to fit all this in and kind of keep everybody happy, but we really appreciate all of you guys, and we're going to keep doing this as long as you're around. So we appreciate you. I'm pretty sure that's everything we have, right?
Pretty much, yeah. There was one other post that I think it might be good to mention, just because it's the first official communication on Reddit in a really long time. I think the devs kind of avoid Reddit because they get a lot of flack there, and rightfully so. I wouldn't really want to go into a room where it seems like everyone hates me and then talk to them. So they just said that they had a lot of problems over the weekend, and their login servers were down, but they're trying to move fast to implement things that negate this bad experience. You know, they're trying to move fast, and they know that means breaking things. But they say that it's not an excuse, and they're trying to move quickly because they care, and that's the key here. They're trying to move quickly, figure out what works and what doesn't, and then if they need to fail fast, they do that, and then they move on and try to get the fixes out. They're adding, they added some details here saying that the server saw a 30% decrease in network problems, and this is the stuff that we're seeing now. And overall, like, they're just continuing their efforts to improve, to implement further improvements, and just wanting to reassure everyone that, you know, we're here, we're working on it, and just reaching out and communicating is the key, and that's what they've done, and that's what is exciting to see, that people are responding to it, and, you know, when we get news, it's always a good thing, whether it's good or bad news. Any communication is good, and that's what we like to see.
Absolutely. So that's all we've got for now. Thank you to everybody again. Please go to iTunes and rate us. Give us those 5 stars or whatever stars you think we deserve. Hang out, follow, subscribe, like, do whatever you got to do. If you don't like us, I mean, that's cool too. Thanks for listening, at least this time. We're going to keep playing here for 3 to 4 more hours. Until then, Dan.
We will see you in game.
Thank you.